Okay, in the previous lecture, we have started, we tried to look at what is this, the course syllabus mainly, and we tried to look at some basics of the semiconductors. What are the elements used for the semiconductor? We have seen that the fourth group elements, in which carbon, silicon, germanium, these are mainly the elements used for semiconductors. Okay, not in great detail, but just for as a first sight. Okay, from our previous knowledge, we just accepted that these are the materials used as semiconductors. The gallium, arsenic, okay, on the other hand, these are actually compound semiconductors. Okay, this is the under uh, thing here. So this carbon is a very amazing actually element here, and currently that is not in use for making semiconductor devices. The silicon and germanium, these two elements are mainly used for manufacturing of these semiconductor devices. So question is, why silicon is preferred over germanium? So we can see the configuration of the electronic configuration of the silicon and germanium. Silicon is having atomic number 14, germanium 32. Both are having 4 electrons in its outermost orbit here. Okay, so there are several regions why the silicon is preferred over germanium, as the silicon has higher current ratings, it is having higher temperature stability, there is small leakage, easily available and extractable. Okay, that is the biggest advantage of silicon over here. Okay, so these are the few uh, things which makes the silicon to be preferred over germanium. There may be few terms over here which may not be much clear right now, like stability, temperature stability, even say leakage, what we mean by leakage here, and say current ratings here. So as we proceed in our course, okay, so few of these maybe get cleared. Okay. So let us look at the highly used semiconductor, the silicon and the gallium arsenide. Okay, so this is of course the compounds semiconductor. This is the semiconductor. Okay, so uh, if we look at the bonding of the silicon, okay, this is actually two-dimensional picture for simplicity. In 3D, okay, if we try to look into, then it is something called as uh, 2 FCC lattices uh, intersecting each other. Okay, so FCC stands for face centered cubic. Okay, so if we try to look at the different materials, how they are arranged, so the materials are arranged actually in the 3 dimensional. Okay, they have the 3 dimensional extension. They are not 2 dimensional, they're 3 dimensional. So these atoms, they are situated at a distance from each other. Okay, so we call that as the lattice constant interatomic distance. and there is some regular structure, okay, regular structure of that also, that is we call as periodic structure. So we can just imagine like a kind of brick, okay, which is say used to build a big home, okay. So so this is a kind of periodic structure which is if repeated, then we can have the uh, bulk material, okay. So uh, there are different crystal structures we might have studied, okay. The simple cubic, the face centered cubic, okay. So different types of crystal structures are there. So silicon is said to have something called as diamond, okay, structure. And diamond structure is nothing but two FCC lattices intersecting each other, okay. So in the three dimension, it may look like a pyramid structure kind of thing, but that is not of much worry here for us, because we are trying to understand the electrical properties of these material. So rather we are trying to look at how these electrons are distributed and how the bonding is formed in between the silicon atoms, which are spatially arranged in a material. So a silicon atom is surrounded by four neighboring atoms here. Say we designate 1, 2, 3, and 4. So each of these central silicon atom is going to be surrounded by four surrounding silicon atoms. And because we have just seen that there is four outermost electrons of silicon here. So, so from the surrounding each of these silicon atoms, they share each electrons, one electron, okay, each with other one. So that's how the covalent bonding is formed here, okay. This is actually a kind of covalent bond. So we can see that these electrons are actually bounded, they are not free to move. So if there is no electron free to move, we can say that it is equivalent to insulator, okay. We can see that this is having the insulator like property, because there is no electron free to move which can form the current, okay. So that is the thing which must be noted here. On the other hand, on the right side, we can see the gallium arsenide structure here. This is having another lattice structure called as zinc blende. Okay. So this is having zinc blende structure, whereas this is having the prior one was having the diamond structure. In this also, we can see that arsenic, which is having 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, okay, 5 electrons in its outermost orbit, and gallium is having 3 electrons in its outermost orbit. So this is a complex structure in which each of the arsenic atom is surrounded by, we can see, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 gallium atoms, and again they form the covalent bonds with each other. Again in this we can see that There is no free electron. So in its form here, even this gallium arsenide, this also will act like insulator, because there seems to be no electrons. Later we will see that from where the electrons appear and how they are able to form the current. That is a very interesting nature of these semiconductors. They seem to be have to see have to have the insulating nature here, uh, but in certain conditions they starts conducting. Okay, so here just we have a brief parameter comparison of these uh, semiconductors here. Okay, so silicon and germanium are simple semiconductors, elemental semiconductors we can say, and gallium arsenide, this is compound semiconductor. At this moment, these terms which are listed like intrinsic carrier, band gap, electron mobility, few things may be clear, okay, but we will see, okay, what these are here. Okay, only at this moment it is enough to understand these values. Okay, that germanium is having superior values of carrier. So carrier is something which carries the current, okay, electrons. The electron concentration is more, so current will be more in the germanium. Band gap, okay, is less, means it is easy to move the electrons, to make the electrons conduct. We will see in a moment what we mean by band gap. And there is something electron mobility. So if we look at these parameter values, then it appears that the germanium is should be the choice of the material to build up the semiconductor devices. But we see that silicon is the choice, and why the silicon is choice, already we have mentioned few other points. Other points will be clear as we learn more and more about this the material. Okay, gallium arsenide, on the other hand, even though intrinsic carrier concentration is low, it has superior electron mobility. Okay, so superior electron mobility means the current. Okay, so electron mobility is defined as the ratio of the drift velocity. बाद में हो भैया, अभी क्लास चल रही है. Electron mobility is defined as drift velocity to the electric field intensity. Okay, so you might see that the velocity, okay, is proportional to something called as electric field. So in a material, if we have, okay, suppose we take some bulk material in which the electrons are there. So if the electrons are like a small particles, they may be thought of uh, have Brownian kind of motion. If not suffer to any external field. Okay, so suppose we have some material and we have some free electrons into that, and they are left free, then what will happen? They will move around here and there randomly. Okay, during the motion, what may happen? They may interact with the some atoms, some other particles in the way, and may change the direction of the motion, okay, randomly moving and here and there. So statistically speaking, there may be no net movement in any certain direction. Okay, so if there is no net movement of these carriers in certain direction, then we say that the current is zero, or the net movement of that charge is zero. Okay, and hence the current will be zero. Current relationship will be coming in a moment. Okay, right now we are just looking at this. Now suppose we apply some external field. Okay, some material is there. It is not limited to the semiconductor. There is some material, and we apply some external electric field to it. So this external electric field is going to apply a force on these charged particles. We know the force is given by Q times E. So under the influence of this electric field, the charge feels the force which makes it to move, accelerate. So force relation we know, F is equal to ma is equal to Q times E. So B will see an acceleration equal to QE upon M. So say the particle or the charge particle here, okay, the electron, we are taking as a reference. In semiconductors, we will see that there is another kind of charge particle which is also possible, having positive charge. So we will have that also, okay, that discussion. So that will also have the force, and the direction of the force may differ, okay, depending on the charge is positive or negative. But we are not interested in that discussion right now. So acceleration is there, and says that particle is starting from rest and accelerates for certain time, achieves some this velocity, and after interaction it loses some velocity or changes direction. Okay, say comes in this direction and then moves in certain direction. So we will see that it is not moving with the same velocity, accelerated velocity in the same direction in a given direction, but the net movement in that direction is there, but maybe less than the expected one. So this net movement in a certain direction under the influence of this electric field, external field, okay, that decides a net velocity, which is generally called as drift velocity or forced velocity. We are forcing the particles to move in certain direction, and that is due to this external field. That's why we say that the velocity, okay, sometimes this most of times, okay, this is given by small bd, or here it is capital BD, okay. It is now not important by what representation we are representing it, but this is the velocity which is proportional to the electric field. So if we remove this sign of proportionality, then we have a constant of proportionality mu, which is nothing but called as mobility. Okay. So mobility is ability to move the particles in certain direction. One more important thing for yes.
Sir, among these criteria, which criteria is more important, sir, to select a semiconductor?
In these, okay, we are having three criteria over here: intrinsic carrier concentration, band gap, electron mobility. So band gap, if we look at the band gap, okay, So if band gap is more, it means we need to apply a larger external field, okay, to make the carriers to appear. We will see that later on. So higher voltage means higher energy is associated. So that is one thing. Lower, on the other hand, if we have a lower band gap, then we need a lower voltage, of course. So lower voltage means low voltage, low current, and low power. So these things will come. So for the cases, we may have this here, but if this is too small, in that case, we will not have much control over the current, over the charge carriers, because of the less energy band gap. So energy band gap is going to play a role because it distinguishes the materials from insulator and between insulator and this conductor. Okay, so if this energy band gap is going towards zero, so in that case, this is going to be more like metallic characteristic. Okay, so we will have higher currents, but less control over the charge carriers, because the charge carriers are readily going to be available. So if we want more control, then we can have a little, okay, more energy band gap, okay, like say 1.1 or 1.43, or even if we say try to increase more, then what will happen? The required voltage will be high to make the charge carriers to appear. Now let us come on the intrinsic carrier. Intrinsic carrier, if it is high, then the charge carriers available to carry the current will be more. So if the carrier is more, the charge is more, okay, to move, then the current will be more. So current will be more for say here in germanium, and then it comes in the silicon, and then gallium arsenide is the least one. It appears. But gallium arsenide we can see will win because the mobility is more. We will later learn that the current is not only going to depend on the number of carriers but also on the mobility, how fast they are moving, okay, how much ability of those charge carriers are there to move. So mobility is also there, okay. So actually the important thing here is mobility, but mobility actually is limited by the material characteristics, okay. Just like gallium arsenide is having, the carriers in the gallium arsenide is having more mobility. It means the material has the inherent property to allow the carriers to move through it without much hindrance. Whereas in the silicon, we can see that it is going to actually have more hindrance. Okay, this actually we can come back here and see if something called as packing density is also there, and the size of the atoms, say here gallium or arsenide, arsenic here. Okay, so size of the atoms also matter here. Arsenic is a little big atom as compared to gallium, but gallium is more in number, as we can see. Okay, with one arsenic atom, 5 gallium atoms are surrounding here. And gallium atom size will be lower as compared to the arsenic here. Okay, so we will have more intraatomic space, we can say, and we can okay, apart from this there may be other regions also which we are not discussing right now, which actually gives edge, okay, so that the mobility is more. in this. Okay, without much hindrance, the carriers can move. There is less interaction. What I mean, there is less interaction with the surrounding atoms and these carriers. Whereas in the silicon, the atomic size, okay, we can see all silicon atoms are of equal size here, and they are also of bigger size. The interatomic distance may be less between this. So there is due to these different regions, we see electron mobility to be lower, but electron mobility is not that much low. We can see so around 6 times low. But if we look at the carrier concentration, so it is in the power of 10, so 10 to the power 4 almost. Okay, the carriers are more. So 10 to the power 4 means 10,000 times. Okay, so 6 time carrier mobility, okay, doesn't matter much, whereas this 10,000 times carrier concentration matters more. So it is, we can say that carrier concentration plays a greater role in deciding the this okay, which semiconductor is better. So we should have a moderate value of the band gap, okay, so that it is neither metallic like behavior or neither and it should not have very large energy band gap, so that it has insulator type behavior. Mobility may be moderate one, but it is the intrinsic characterization which plays a greater role. Okay, RO, is that okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
So semiconductor materials have negative temperature coefficient, which we will see later one. Negative temperature coefficient means as we increase temperature, then the resistance tries to decrease. Okay. Positive temperature coefficient means if we increase the temperature, then the resistance increases. So for semiconductors, actually, we will see that as the temperature is increased, we give some thermal energy to the material, and that gives rise to the number of charge carriers, which enhances the conductivity, something called as conductivity, and hence the negative temperature coefficient is there. Okay, so now with these initial remarks about these semiconductors, let us try to look at some concepts which may be helpful in understanding the behavior of the semiconductor devices. So first concept here is that of the potential barrier. So potential is defined as this equation here. In general, actually, what we see that if we have, say, some charge particle at some location, say at location A here, and we want to move this to location B, and say there is some field, okay, some field is there, say, and under in this field, suppose we want to move this charge particle from point A to B. So if we need to actually, if we are moving against the field, this charge particle, then we need to do some work against this field. Okay, so potential is actually defined as if the charge was kept at some infinity, and we are taking that charge particle to some point of interest, and in a given field strength. Okay, so so from x0 to x, one is trying to take this. So this is how the potential is defined here. If we take the derivative of this equation, if we take the derivative of this equation, then we get this equation is equal to minus dB by dx. Okay, so this is a traditional equation which all we know. The negative slope, okay, negative gradient of potential variation is nothing but the field strength, electric field. Okay, so electric field also can be defined from the potential equation in this way. Another quantity which is important to understand is potential energy. If we multiply the potential with charge q, then that gives the potential energy. So this particular potential energy is for a positive charge. If we have, in the other hand, a negative charge, then we have to replace this q by a minus q, and our potential energy will become minus q times b. Okay, so these are some remarks here. Total energy of a particle, if we look at, then it is going to be always constant, and have two parts. One is called as potential energy, and another is kinetic energy. Okay, so potential energy and kinetic energy together, total energy is constant. That means if we say increase kinetic energy, then potential energy will decrease, and if we increase potential energy, then kinetic energy is going to decrease. So that total energy of a particle is always constant. Now, the situation is like this here. To understand the potential barrier, we have, say, two plates as shown over here, plate A and plate B. Plate A is at higher potential than plate B, so that there is an electric field E which exists between this between these two plates. The separation between the plates is D here. Now suppose we are trying to push one electron from plate A to plate B here, then what happens? So say initial speed of the electron is V naught. So electron speed is V naught, so that the corresponding kinetic energy is half mv square. Okay, so this is the initial kinetic energy of this electron. Okay, so let us see what are the conditions in which this electron will reach on the plate B, or may not reach on the plate B, or let us see what are the different conditions. So the second graph here is showing the potential variation between the plates. So the plate B is at a negative potential as compared to the plate A, or we can say that plate A is at higher potential than plate B. Okay, so both are the same thing here. But here in this diagram, we can see that the reference potential for the plate A is 0. Okay, so that's what it is shown here, whereas plate B is at minus BD voltage. So there is a linear variation from 0 to minus BD, it is decreasing the voltage. Now, if we look at the total energy of this electron while it is traveling from plate A to plate B. So total energy is shown by W here of this, say given by this equation here. So initially we are launching it a say speed B0 here, so that kinetic energy is certainly high here, half mv square. Okay, so at plate A, the energy, okay, is in the form of the kinetic energy, half mv square. Whereas as this is say moving towards plate B, this is actually going to work against the electric field. Why? Because this is an electron negative charge. The force on this electron is in the opposite direction. Okay, so this is a kind of retarding field, and the velocity of this this electron will decrease as it moves towards the plate B. Okay, so the work done while doing so, the charge particle, okay, is also acting against the field here. So how much it is acting against the field, that energy is going to be stored in the form of the potential energy. So we see here that the kinetic energy half mv square, in which B is reducing, that is B is going to be less than B0 as it is proceeding towards the plate B, and QVD, which is now the actually this is these are the values at the B at plate B here. At some in intermediate point here, B may have a different value here. Okay, Q times some say V here. So in general, B may have half mv square plus QV, where V is of course less than BD here. Okay, some value here in between, say here. So we see that kinetic energy is going to reduce, and the this potential energy is going to increase during this transition. Okay, so at any point x0, we can see what may happen, that the difference, okay, the difference in potential energy and the kinetic energy may become 0. What I am saying essentially is that initially the kinetic energy was large and the potential energy was 0, and now as the charge particle, okay, electron is moving from plate A to B, the kinetic energy is increasing and the potential energy is kinetic energy is decreasing and potential energy is increasing. So one is increasing, okay, and another is decreasing. So there will be some point at which these will be both equal. That is, the difference will be 0. So say that point is at x is equal to x0 in between these two plates, at which these both equal and the difference is 0. Beyond this, what will happen? That the potential energy is going to be less. Potential energy is going to be larger than the this kinetic energy. So if we look at this case, then the total energy will become actually negative. Seems to be sorry. Total energy. Okay, total energy is here. Half mb square is equal to half mb square plus qvd. Okay. So at this x equal to x0, beyond this, it will appear that potential energy is larger than the kinetic energy. As we proceed further, then what may happen at some point, that the potential energy is too large and the kinetic energy will become 0. So if it happens, if the velocity of the electron becomes 0 at some point beyond this point, then it means the electron or a charged particle becomes at rest. Rest means it is not moving at all. And beyond this point, what will happen? We will not see the electron to appear, but it will appear as if that there is no charge beyond that point at which b is equal to 0. So we can say that in that situation, that there is some point, okay, where this velocity becomes 0, and there is some region in which there is this charge cannot actually enter into. This charge particle cannot enter into. Okay. Actually, if we launch this electron with a larger energy, okay, in initial velocity, then this may also actually reach to the plate B. But if the velocity is lower, then it will happen that B will not be. So this last equation in this is giving this actually condition here. So at plate B, the total energy in general can be written as half mv square plus qv times vd. Q times vd is the potential energy which is gained by the charged particle while landing on the plate B. So if in this B is equal to 0 at plate B, then we say that the charged particle has reached at plate B. But if we say that V naught is such that this velocity is going to just become 0 before reaching at the plate B, then we can say that it is not reaching at plate B. What I mean here, that if we write the same equation in this form, half m into b square minus b square is equal to qvd, like this. So if v naught, okay, square minus b square, we can write like this here, 2q BD upon M. So if this quantity on the right hand side is say negative, okay, if say it is positive, then we will say that the particle will reach on the plate B. If say this quantity on the left side is a negative, on the other hand, then this particle will not reach on the plate B, but it will be seen that it is coming back on the plate A, because it is losing its velocity at certain point, and because the electric field is such that it is acting always on the charged particle, so it will accelerate in the reverse direction and will ultimately land up on the plate A again. Okay, so it will appear that as if this charged particle is coming back after reflection, after colliding with a kind of wall. Okay, and that virtual wall we call as potential barrier, from where and this charged particle is rebounding or coming back. Okay, it is not able to cross that if its kinetic energy is less. Okay, so with this we shall stop over here. We will try to understand in the next lecture the energy band theory of crystals. Okay, we will try to understand how the energy band is forming in a semiconductor, and then some conclusions about the this silicon. Okay, if there is any questions you may ask, else we can stop over here.